Welcome in, everyone. I hope you are doing well wherever you are watching from today. We have a very serious and disturbing topic to talk about, and that is the situation we are watching unfold and unravel in Syria over the past couple days. The images and videos are nothing short of horrifying. We're going to get into all that and much more. Before we do, as always, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment with your thoughts below. It certainly helps. Now let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So the background of this is pretty simple. In early December 2024, December 7th, maybe the early morning hours of December 8th, it's not crystal clear, Bashar al-Assad, the then dictator of Syria, fled the country with his family and some close guards after a brutal civil war that lasted more than a decade. Hundreds of thousands of lives were lost. Millions were displaced. It was one of the most brutal situations we've ever seen unfold in modern times. Just chaotic, barbaric, horrible. There were a lot of bad people on all sides involved. You had Islamic jihadists. You had the Assad regime. Assad certainly no good guy. And then you had HTS, which is run by this guy named Jelani, who is a former terrorist leader himself. And he did a lightning blitz offensive while Assad was in Russia and took over the country in a matter of a few days after, again, more than a decade of initial fighting. Jelani is now the new leader of Syria. And for anyone who was paying attention, I said, and many others said too, this is going to end poorly. Assad, bad guy, very bad guy. Allowing Islamics, fighters, militants, jihadists, whatever you want to call them, allowing them to be in control is going to be significantly worse. Syria has a lot of different ethnic groups, a lot of different clans, if you will. They are not going to all get along. They are not going to go under Jelani's leadership. That was obvious. And as bad as Assad was, he wasn't really a threat to the U.S. He wasn't a crazy fundamentalist at all. And I told everyone who was listening, this is going to get ugly. Well, it's gotten very ugly. We have a lot of dead people over the past 48 hours. All hell's broken loose. We're going to get into all that right now. HTS, just as I said they would, have taken out revenge. I have to say unaliving. I don't think I'm allowed to say what is actually going on here on YouTube, but there has been mass violence. This is a report from the Associated Press. 2 days of clashes and revenge killings in Syria leave more than 600 people dead. Here we go. The death toll from 2 days of clashes between security forces and loyalists of ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and revenge killings have followed has risen to more than 600, a war monitoring group said Saturday, making it one of the deadliest acts of violence since Syria's conflict began 14 years ago. The clashes, which erupted Thursday, marked a major escalation in the challenge to the new government in Damascus, 3 months after insurgents took authority after removing Assad from power. The government has said they are responding to attacks from remnants of Assad's forces and blamed individual actions for rampant violence. Here we go. Retribution killings between Sunnis and Alawites. The revenge killings that started Friday by Sunni Muslim gunmen loyal to the government against members of Assad's minority Alawite sect are a major blow to HTS, the faction that led the overthrow of the former government. Alawites made up a large part of Assad's support base for decades. Residents of Alawite villages and towns spoke to the AP about killings during which gunmen shot Alawites, the majority of the men, in the street or at the gates of their homes. Many homes of Alawites were looted and then set on fire in different areas. 2 residents of Syria's coastal region told the AP from hideouts. They asked that their names not be made public out of fear of being killed by gunmen, adding that thousands of people have fled to nearby mountains to safety. And residents of Banahas, I'm probably not pronouncing it, one of the towns hit worst by the violence, said bodies were strewn in the street or left unburied in homes and on the roofs of buildings, and nobody was able to collect them. One resident said that the gunmen prevented residents for hours from removing bodies of 5 of their neighbors killed Friday at close range. These are being described as revenge killings because the Alawites were supportive of Assad. Now, I cannot show the videos. I can't even show the photos here. If you want to see just how bad this situation is, and it is appalling, go on X, and there is footage that is, to call it disturbing, wouldn't even begin to accurately sum it up. So how did we get here, and what lessons can we learn? Let's get into that. One of the things people have to understand, you have to understand it. Not every region of the world, in fact, most regions of the world don't replicate the success we have here in America when it comes to our model of government, justice, equal rights, freedom. It's a uniquely American thing. And unfortunately, going back to the Obama administration, when you talk about Libya, they went in, they used American air power to help ground forces overthrow Gaddafi. Again, a really bad guy. No one's arguing Gaddafi was anything other than an evil monster, which is what he was. And the idea was, well, we got rid of Gaddafi. Now we're going to bring Western-style democracy to the Middle East, as if we didn't just try that in Iraq. And that took years and years and years of brutal fighting in order to have anything that resembled peace and stability. And while Iraq's doing okay now, again, we're talking about something that happened 22 years ago. And it took a long time to get there. So Libya happens. Obama and Hillary Clinton start to think that they're doing great. And they start to turn their attention to Syria. And Syria is not at all like Libya. It's on the coast of the Mediterranean. It culturally is not much like other parts of the Arab world, certainly not like Africa. And Assad, who again, bad guy, seemed to have been doing a pretty good job of not letting Islamic fundamentalists run out of control in his country. Brutal dictator, did terrible things. But we have to understand that sometimes some countries are not meant to have Western-style democracy. And it's better to have a secular dictator than whatever we're watching unfold right now. We've seen it in Libya. We've seen it in Iraq. We've seen it when they got rid of Mubarak in Egypt, and then the military had to come in and get rid of the people that replaced him. It's the same story over and over again. And for whatever reason, our ally, Turkey, backed HTS, a terrorist organization whose leader, Jelani, was wanted by the United States government, had a $10 million bounty on his head. They backed him, and they are the reason he was able to take power. Our NATO ally, Turkey, is the number one sponsor of HTS. They are responsible for this. And at some point, we got to look in the mirror and say, you know what? Better to dance with the devil you know than the one you don't. I told people this was going to happen. I told people HTS would do exactly what they're doing now. They would target innocent people. They would target ethnic minorities. They would target the Alawites, who are incredibly secular Muslims, by the way. They're not fundamentalists. They're not jihadis. That's what Assad was. Assad was an Alawite. They're not religiously motivated people. And as brutal as Assad was, the world is now watching what happens when you install a former extremist or fundamentalist, whatever you want to call him, into power. 600 people over the course of 48 hours have lost their lives. I'm telling you, the videos are horrifying. It's time for people to wake up and understand that getting involved in situations like this, and this goes back to the Obama administration. That's what started this. It is what it is at this point. I mean, no one's coming in to save Syria. It's going to be split up into territories. I told you what was going to happen with HTS. I'll tell you what's going to happen with the rest of the country now. The Kurds are going to take apart. The Turks are going to take apart. The Israelis will take apart. The U.S. military will hold part of it. The Russians are not going to give up their strategic locations no matter what anyone says. That's just the reality of the situation. It's heartbreaking. It's tragic. It was also completely predictable. So we should think about what happens when we align ourselves or allow situations like this to unfold. And we should also ask Turkey, the number one party responsible for this, why they thought this was better. And the reason is because a weak Syria allows them to take land. That's why they did it. That's why Turkey did it. That's a fact. So I want to know your comments, what you think about the situation unfolding in Syria. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's hope the chaos ends. I'll see y'all next time.